Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid. I am laying down in the wet, dew-covered, cold field, meadow, above which I usually do these morning rambles, but it's for a reason. If you notice beside me here, there's a beautiful loblolly pine. See that? Isn't that beautiful? Perfect symmetry. Looks like it would make the perfect Christmas tree. Though that's not what it's for. It's going to continue to grow and prosper in this meadow as long as I have anything to do with it. Now, I'm going to talk to you today about the most important thing we can do with our time, at least as Crazy Lake, sees it. And I was walking up to where I usually do these rambles, and I saw this loblolly pine here, and I thought, there's no better example I can give in this little video I'm doing today on the importance and the value of time and the most important thing we can do with it than this loblolly pine. Here's my elbow. My elbow's on the ground at the base of the tree, and the tips of my fingers only go about halfway up it. Now, this tree's only 2 years old. Most of you who have subscribed to this channel came here by way of a video called How to Get Rid of an Annoying Neighbor with a Crayon. So you know the backstory of this pine tree, in that 2 years ago this tree wasn't here because nothing was here. This entire meadow was a hay field, and somebody had been cutting it for hay for 1,000 years, so he said, and he was going to get the hay for the next 1,000 years. We would have been content to let him have the hay on the front of the field, but we wanted to let this part of our property go fallow and turn to forest. And of course, as you know, if you watched that video, I know I could have told the story in 2 minutes, but I took 18 and a half to tell it, so I'm not going to retell it here. Short of it is, he became indignant, told us we basically had no say in what we were going to do with our own property, and he was going to take our hay whether we liked it or not. So now he doesn't get any of the hay, and we're doing some other wonderful, beautiful things with the other parts of the property. So it worked out best for us anyway, as far as the beautification of our homestead goes. So the point of all this is that just in 2 years, that it at times seemed like it was very slow 2 years, but at other times now, looking back at it, we realize it was a very fast 2 years. This is just one of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trees back here that have already grown to be more than 2 feet tall. Oh, and look at that little poplar tree right there beside it. It's already lost its leaves, or for the most part, it's lost its leaves for the year. It's been growing back some new buds, but this tree is up to, it's about almost halfway up my thigh. It's probably, it's a little more than 2 feet tall. So guys, ready or not, here time comes. Like it or not, time marches on. Here, in my very humble view, is what is the most important thing we can do with our time. And guys, I've talked about this kind of stuff before, but I'm going to talk about it again, because this morning I was online and I was looking for like a little cordless rotary tool, inexpensive, something I can use to sharpen a lot of my handheld tools I use out here to cut weeds, like gardening shears, clippers, pruners. I'm not a big power tools kind of guy. I like to keep it simple, and I like to keep it inexpensive. So I'm online and I'm looking for inexpensive rotary tools, and it's about $6.40 or so. I usually wake my son up anytime between $6:40 and 7 to start getting him ready for school. And he starts waking up. He starts moving, and I'm like, you know what? Looking for this power tool can wait, because the most important thing I can do with my time is spend the amount of time I have to give with my son right now. He's going to be going to school here soon. He's going to be gone from me all day. Then I get him back and I get to spend more time with him. So let's set the laptop aside, do our tool search later. But for now, here's an extra 10, 15 minutes I can snuggle with my son that I wouldn't have. I could have sat there quietly, and I could have continued to search for that tool and let him sleep another 10 or 15 minutes. But I knew the most important thing for me to do would be to set work aside, spend the time with him. So I did. So we're snuggling, he's waking up slowly, and sometimes in the mornings while we're getting ready, that's such a beautiful tree. I want to look at it more while I'm doing this, and I want you to see it some more. 2 years and patience is all it's taken, and get that guy out of my field, run him off with the crayon, and now this is what I get. That crayon was a good investment. I've got hundreds of these beautiful little trees out here. So anyway, Sometimes we listen to music in the mornings. I usually just play like a relaxing light music playlist while we're getting ready, but sometimes Daniel, my son, will request to hear a certain song. So I guess at some point in the past, he heard me listening to some older music, and he asked if I would play a song called Broken Wings by Mr. Mister. So I did. So we're laying there snuggling. He's waking up slowly, and we're listening to Broken Wings by Mr. Mister. And he asked me what year was that song written or originally published. So I said, well, it had to have been in the 80s sometime. So I remember I was a little boy. I probably wasn't much older than you. He's 7 now. So I do a quick Google, and I find out that Broken Wings by Mr. Mister is from 1985. So he asked me to tell him about 1985. So I'm sitting there, or I'm laying there snuggling with him, saying, okay, I turned 12 that year, but not until the end of the year. So I was 11, and he's 7, so I was a few years older than you. And I was listening to the song, and I just automatically was back in my bedroom in 1985 with this little, like, 10-inch black and white TV that only played one channel, but it was the only channel that mattered back then. It was a channel called MTV. And back then, MTV just played music. They played music videos. They had some VJs, video jockeys, that would come on in between songs, say that was this song, and then they'd introduce the next one, and then they would just play music all day, and it was good. It was mostly like top 40 type stuff, pop music. There was some rock and roll, whatever was popular, but it wasn't stupid shows, and it wasn't strictly one genre that only a select group of people listened to. They played music that everybody listened to. They would play hip-hop, R&B. They'd play hair metal like Bon Jovi, Poison. Then they'd play soft pop, you know. But it was different back then. It was actually, and that was the only channel so I'm in my mind's eye, I'm back in 1985 watching this 10-inch black and white TV. I see Mr. Mister, Broken Wings, and then I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, where has the time gone? Because now I'm a 44-year-old man getting ready to turn 45, snuggling with a little boy who's almost the age I was in my mind's eye, and we're listening to the same song. And here's this tree showing that ready or not, here time comes, and like it or not, time marches on, and it goes by quickly. So then I'm asking my son if he had fun yesterday after school. We had a wonderful afternoon yesterday after school. We spent the entire weekend here on the homestead mostly splitting wood. If you've been following us, you know we just got a new manual 10-ton hydraulic log splitter, and Dearly, my beautiful bride, and our son have just, they love that thing, and it is not taxing. It is not physically exhausting whatsoever. So while I'm splitting the big stuff with my 10-pound sledgehammer and my diamond maul, they're working on the little stuff, you know, with that log splitter, and then we're playing football in between. But a lot of times on the weekends they'll want to go somewhere, and I told them, I said, guys, listen, if we stay home all weekend and we don't go anywhere and we focus on this firewood, because winter is coming quickly, because like it or not, ready or not, here time comes. Like it or not, time marches on, and this little 2.5-foot tall tree is proof of that. The lines on my face that weren't there last year, I call that my mailman line. That came during the 6 months I had that job I hated that made me miserable, that thank God I no longer have. The gray hairs are proof. Ready or not, here time comes. Like it or not, time marches on. So they said, okay, but we got to do something fun on Monday. So all weekend we split wood. So yesterday was Monday. We picked Daniel up after school. We went into town, into Charlottesville, and we just had fun. Here's the fun we had, and we spent a total of $20. Okay. We went to the downtown mall, parked in the Water Street garage so we could go to the library. We had some books Daniel had to take back, and we got maybe 6 or 8 new books. Dearly got a book. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to Michael Hines, who is one of the proprietors at the tobacco and cigar shop there on the downtown mall on one of the side streets across from the pie shop. We were going through the alley, and Michael popped his head out the door, and he yelled, "Hey, I like your video." And I heard him. I was like, "Which one?" And he said, "All of them." And he popped his head back in the door. And I'd never met Michael, so we walked over and said hi, introduced ourselves, chatted with Michael for just a minute. He said he likes to watch our videos. So hello, Michael, if you're watching this one. Thanks for mentioning that to us yesterday as we passed by. I told Michael sometimes I feel like I'm just some guy up here in the field talking to himself. And he said, "No, you're not just talking to yourself." He says, "Just keep doing it." So thank you, Michael. That meant a lot to us. So And we didn't even have to pay to park in the parking garage because you get 2 hours free parking if you go to the library and validate your parking stub with the little stamper thing they have there at the counter. So we did that. So then we went, and I mentioned this to Michael. We don't like to eat out a lot, and you see Dearly cook, and you can see why. I mean, Dearly cooks the best food I've ever eaten. It's cheaper to eat at home. It's healthier to eat at home. But when we do go out, we'll often like to stop and get something to eat. So that way, if we get home a little late, we don't have to worry about dinner and getting Daniel showered and ready for bed and all that stuff, because the meal's out of the way. We don't have to worry about cleaning the kitchen. We save a lot of time. So we have a tendency to often go to the same places we like to eat. So about 2 months ago, we started playing this game where if we're out, we always go somewhere where we've never been, or at least Dearly and Daniel's never been, that maybe I've been to before, but it's been a while. So we went to the Wayside Diner there at the bridge, the foot of the bridge. We have a lot of people who watch that live in Charlottesville now, Monroe County, right there where you start JPA. And JPA Avenue, Jefferson Park Avenue, and we had fried chicken, and we had, Daniel got a milkshake, I had some cheesecake, and Dearly got some ice cream, and we spent $20 total, I think. It's very inexpensive, and the food is very good. Wayside Diner makes excellent fried chicken. My mouth's watering thinking about it. I'm not even hungry. So my point of all this is this. 20 years from now, it's been longer than that, 30 years from now, if my son Daniel is snuggling with his son or his daughter or doing anything, and he hears the song Broken Wings by Mr. come on, whatever technology they're using at that time to listen to music, in his mind's eye, he will go back to him and his father snuggling in the morning before school, talking about the afternoon they'd spent the day before, going to the library, walking on the downtown mall, something that we love to do in the fall. We love to do it all times of the year, but we missed going down there too much last fall and seeing the leaves. It was beautiful yesterday. And then going to Wayside Diner for fried chicken. These are the memories that we need to make. So in essence, this is the most important way in which we can spend our time, that being with the people who matter to us most in this world. We took care of business yesterday. We did the things we had to do. This weekend, we stayed home. We spent our time together then, too. We took care of the firewood. We're plenty ahead on firewood, but we make sure that when we're caught up with our work after having worked hard, that we play hard also, and we do the things we did yesterday afternoon, and we do it together. And doing it together with guys, I don't want to minimize the importance of friends, but to me, I mean, friends are okay, and I have a few, but family is what matters most to me, and that's who I want to spend my time with. And my time to do so is limited. Like it or not, sometimes the days are long, and like I said, the last 2 years that we've been here on this homestead, at times has gone by slow. But then, I'm walking up the field today to do the ramble, and I see this loblolly pine that 2 years ago was not here, that is now nearly 3 feet tall. It's just a visual reminder that ready or not, here time comes, and like it or not, time marches on. So the most important way in which we can spend it is with those that mean the most to us and to whom we mean the most. Okay? So thanks for being with me here for another video, another morning ramble, homesteading off the grid. There's a beautiful view of the homestead. The sun just came up a bit ago, just above the tree lines there. So I hope each and every one of you have a great day, and I hope that you take the time to spend time with those who matter most to you.